The Scum Villain's Self-Saving System, Chapter 84. 1. You know what I mean. Degree. Audio source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 84. 1. Scum Villain. This chapter is 84. 1. Because, as far as I know, this is a book extra. It's set chronologically after Chapter 84, thus I have numbered it as 84. Thanks for reading. Warning, this chapter is NSFW. Chapter 84. 1. You know what I mean. Degree. There was a hole on the roof of the bamboo dwelling. Air was leaking in with a whooshing sound. Shen Qingqiu lay on his back. Luo Bing'e pressed down on him, licking and kissing along his neck like a puppy as he made his way down. Shen Qingqiu stared at the big hole that one of the Luo Bing'e had blasted out earlier during the duel. He could no longer continue to pretend that it was invisible and spoke out. Why don't we move elsewhere? Luo Bing'e looked up and willfully replied, I don't want to. Going down the mountain to book a room would be way better than doing it here. Before Shen Qingqiu could speak, Luo Bing'e added, we are staying right here, in the bamboo house. He was firm in his statement. Perhaps the bamboo dwelling really was a special place to him. Shen Qingqiu conceded defeat and started to strip on his own initiative. He was a little more experienced now. If he waited for Luo Bing'e to undress him, his clothes would be unwearable by the time they hit the floor. He might as well peel them off himself first. Amidst the rustling sound, their outer robes, inner garments, belts, all fell onto the floor, piece after piece with teal and black overlapping each other. A cool breeze swept through the room as they bared themselves to one another. Shen Qingqiu felt a little cold and also a little embarrassed. But Luo Bing'e did not feel that way at all. Kneeling between Shen Qingqiu's legs, Luo Bing'e's Adam's apple bobbed. He looked extremely nervous, although his memory of that last time at Maigu Ridge was hazy. He could still tell you how badly he had performed after seeing Shen Qingqiu's tragic state amidst the rivers of blood after they had done it. Coupled with the blow he had received earlier about his technique, he intended to put up an excellent performance this time, but he was at a loss on what to do. When Shen Qingqiu saw him hesitating so pitifully, he sighed and took the initiative to reach out and undo his pants. Shen Qingqiu could not help but tickle Luo Bing'e's chin when he saw those furious blushes on Luo Bing'e's fair cheeks. He thought this child really was a little adorable. But when he undid his pants and looked down, he saw an object that had already raised its head. His earlier thought Luo Bing'e was adorable was instantly flung far away beyond the night sphere of heavens. Fuck this size, Shen Qingqiu said decisively. No can do. Luo Bing'e looked as if thunderbolts had struck him. His voice quavered as he said, Shizun, you promised. No can do, as in you can't do me straight up like this, you'll kill me. How the hell did he even survive the last time? To think he did not die even after having this sort of thing penetrate him. He didn't die. Shen Qingqiu struggled for a moment and said, this master. Let me help you release once with my hand first. Rub until it more or less goes down. Shen Qingqiu's 5 maiden fingers had serviced no one before, so this was unprecedented. He touched the tip of that meat pillar, which was almost purplish-red and intricately crisscrossed with green veins. He braced himself and grabbed it. Luo Bing'e let out a cry of pain and looked at him with an aggrieved expression. Shen Qingqiu kept hypnotizing himself as he gripped it with an appropriate amount of strength and began to stroke slowly. The more he rubbed, the more alarmed he became. Regardless of its thickness, hardness, or temperature, this was not an organ that any living organism should have, was it? It would not be a stretch to even call it a murder weapon, would it? Other than Shen Qingqiu's initial failure to use the correct amount of strength in his grip, which had caused Luo Bing'er some pain, it was apparent that Luo Bing'er was quickly lured by Shen Qingqiu into the mood. His eyes that had been staring at Shen Qingqiu narrowed and misted over with water, and his breathing grew ragged. Shen Qingqiu was expressionless, but he was really giving it his all. The more he rubbed, the more his hand ached. But this sinful thing showed no sign of release other than a small amount of cloudy secretion at the umbrella-shaped tip. It refused to deflate or ejaculate. Instead, it swelled even more and grew even harder. Even though Shen Qingqiu tried to maintain his composure, he could not control the contortion on his face. Luo Bing'er had been secretly watching his facial expressions. At this point of time, he suddenly spoke up cautiously. "Shizun, why not? You do it." "What?" Shen Qingqiu suspected that he had misheard. Luo Bing'er was willing to let him do him. Luo Bing'er continued, "I'm afraid of hurting Shizun again, so might as well let Shizun do me instead." He said it in all seriousness and with a sincere expression. He was about to lie down when Shen Qingqiu hurriedly said, "No, you do it." Letting Shen Qingqiu do him, he did not have this kind of experience either. All right. What if he accidentally made Luo Bing'er bleed? Even if he knew that Luo Bing'er would still be elated, he would not be able to sleep at night. Anyway, opportunities would always present themselves in the future. There was no harm in coaxing Luo Bing'er this time and let him benefit from it first. In short, he absolutely did not give in because he was a little touched. Shen Qingqiu patted Luo Bing'er on the head as if giving him some encouragement. He then turned around and lay down on the pillow. His elbows were propped up on the bed, and his shoulder blades were raised high. The back of his waist curved down and up in a gentle, breathtaking arch as his buttocks delivered themselves right before Luo Bing'er. Shen Qingqiu's face was burning in embarrassment when Luo Bing'er caught him by surprise and grabbed his waist and flipped him over to face him. He helplessly asked, "What's with you now?" Luo Bing'er replied, "Shizun, I want to do it from the front." "You want to do me from the front?" Shen Qingqiu's face was full of black lines. "Don't push your luck." Quote. After having said so, he turned back as he grumbled in his mind, "What a finicky child." It was already good enough that Shen Qingqiu was willing to let him do him. Who would know that Luo Bing'er would turn him back again as if he was flipping a pancake and ask with a woeful expression, "Shizun, are you really that unwilling to look at me in the face?" His forehead was covered with fine beads of sweat, the tip of his nose was reddish, and his eyes seemed to be glistening with tears. Shen Qingqiu has absolutely no doubt that if he rejected Luo Bing'er would wail out loud right there on the spot. Thinking of such a picture pained Shen Qingqiu, and his heart softened. His mouth moved despite himself. "That isn't it." Luo Bing'er burst into tears and cried his heart out, asking, "Then why do you always turn your back on me? You really think too much. Where in the world did you get these many sensitivities?" Forget it. He could do without this old dignity of his, lest Luo Bing'er thought too much of it again. Shen Qingqiu said offhandedly, all right, we'll do it from the front. Take back your tears. Look at you now." The facts proved that Luo Bing'er's tears were utterly worthless. He could shed and halt his tears with just an "oh." Quote. With a bashful face, he moved his head closer as his hand caressed Shen Qingqiu's skin. Shen Qingqiu had a slender waist and two long and smooth legs that were straight and slim. As they were in a face-to-face position, their bodies were entangled together. The scenery was in clear view further down between Shen Qingqiu's legs. There was a deep ravine in between two perfectly round buns. Luo Bing'er's hands trembled slightly as he caressed the inner part of Shen Qingqiu's smooth, delicate thighs. Shen Qingqiu could not help but shrink back. Luo Bing'e seemed to be afraid that he might go back on his words, and thus, he pressed down on one of Shen Qingqiu's thighs and nudged a finger inside him with the other hand. His finger was slick and slippery as if it had already been coated with lubricant. It went in without difficulty and was quickly received and enveloped by the hot and soft inner walls. The feeling of the nimble finger pressing down on and flexing within his tight insides was weird. Shen Qingqiu could only feel a shiver crawling up his spine and his scalp tingling. He could not even ponder over where Luo Bing'e had gotten such an abundance of preparation tools. Luo Bing'e held his breath with rapt attention. As he inserted the third finger, Shen Qingqiu felt a slight tearing sensation and gasped. He grabbed Luo Bing'e's forearm and said through clenched teeth, "Slow down." Nodding immediately, Luo Bing'e slowed down and followed Shen Qingqiu's guidance like a toddler learning to walk. Step by step, he probed around and kneaded at different spots. When he touched a particular piece of tender flesh, Shen Qingqiu shivered. It did not feel too bad, so he endured his shame and said, "HNNN, that spot feels good. Why must he personally teach someone else to do him?" Being a master to such an extent made Shen Qingqiu really want to light an entire Kangqiong mountain worth of candles for himself. 1. Net lingo for expressing condolences. Same intention as the me. Press F to pay respect. Luo Bing'e observed Shen Qingqiu's expression as he gingerly helped to loosen his insides up. The red flush at the corners of his eyes and eyelids. The tightly pursed lips to stop sounds from escaping. The tension and comfort alternating in between his brows, all of these did not escape Luo Bing'e's eyes. Shen Qingqiu could hardly bear the shame of feeling like he had nowhere to hide. Just as he was about to turn his head aside out of embarrassment, he caught something strange out of the corner of his eye. There was a savage-looking scar across Luo Bing'e's chest near the area where his heart was. It was the stab wound on Luo Bing'e's solar plexus when Shen Qingqiu pushed him down the endless abyss back then. He had never really meant to wound Luo Bing'e intentionally, but it was also the truth that he had hurt him over and over again. Shen Qingqiu was momentarily dazed, and he subconsciously extended his hand to touch the scar. Right at this moment, Luo Bing'e had completed the preliminary preparations. As soon as the fingers were pulled out, the mouth of the cave immediately closed back tight. Luo Bing'e's burning hot chest pressed up against Shen Qingqiu. The hot and thick umbrella-shaped tip propped up against the soft and moist entrance. Shen Qingqiu tightly hugged Luo Bing'e's neck and took a deep breath as if he was going to meet his maker. He felt that rod opening up his body bit by bit. It was still painful. The entrance was too small, and it swelled until it hurt. Although he was lubricated with lubrication from heaven knows where, which had reduced the amount of friction, the diameter of the intruder was still too large. With the aggravation of pain in his lower body, Shen Qingqiu involuntarily pulled Luo Bing'e into a tighter embrace as both his legs unconsciously rubbed against Luo Bing'e's waist. His eardrums buzzed as soon as Luo Bing'e spoke. "Shizun, is this all right?" He could hear the restraint in Luo Bing'e's voice. Luo Bing'e was obviously trying his best not to thrust it all in at once. Against his will, Shen Qingqiu said, "Yes." At his affirmation, Luo Bing'e tightened his grip around his waist and plunged it in with more joy. Luo Bing'e filled up the insides of Shen Qingqiu and stretched his entrance into a taut circle. The lower part of Shen Qingqiu's body no longer seemed to belong to himself. Luo Bing'e retreated a little and shoved in deeper. The sound of squelching water was endless as he kept thrusting in and out. It tormented Shen Qingqiu so much that he felt painful and ticklish and longed to bang his head against the wall. Unknowingly, his tears began to flow. Right at that time, Luo Bing'er turned his head to kiss him and suddenly saw Shen Qingqiu's pained expression. He was momentarily stunned. This was a great blow to him. And then, the tears came gushing out. Teardrops pitter-pattered down Shen Qingqiu's cheeks, leaving him speechless. "What are you crying about?" Luo Bing'er said. "I'm sorry. I still hurt Shizun." Luo Bing'er said. "This disciple is too dumb." Two men shedding tears in front of each other. What the hell of a situation is this? Enduring the discomfort in his lower body, Shen Qingqiu kissed Luo Bing'er's cheeks and eyes and kissed away his tears. He said, "That's okay. It doesn't hurt that much either. Everyone has to start somewhere. Keep going." Luo Bing'er said, disheartened. "I'd better pull out. Fuck. What a joke. If they really hit the brakes now, it would forever cast a shadow over them." He was not afraid of becoming impotent. It was better to just get the pain over and done with than to prolong the agony. As matters stood now, at least one of them would be satiated. No. Having made up his mind, Shen Qingqiu suddenly sat up and swapped positions with Luo Bing'er, pinning him down under his body. His remaining reserve of energy was depleted with this action. Shen Qingqiu no longer had the strength to support his legs and sat down heavily on his buttocks, devouring Luo Bing'er's organ to the deepest point his body could swallow. Feeling as if the tip was pushing up against his stomach, Shen Qingqiu suddenly had the urge to retch, but he fought it back. Luo Bing'er did not come the last time, so he could probably be still considered a virgin. At the very least, Shen Qingqiu wanted to help him lose his virginity this time around. With that thought in mind, he supported himself against Luo Bing'er's abdomen and barely managed to sit up when that thick and stiff head buried deep inside him grazed past a particular spot. A sudden wave of numbness and ticklishness exploded from his lower abdomen and swept across his entire body. Shen Qingqiu was caught off guard, and his back went weak as he flopped forward. It happened that Luo Bing'er was sitting up and caught him in his arms. Luo Bing'er was extraordinarily sharp and probed him. WuxaWorldAudio.com. "Shizun, does it not hurt when I touch it there?" Not only was it painless, it even felt a little pleasurable. Shen Qingqiu was sitting on top of Luo Bing'er at present, with both of his legs spread wide open. They faced each other with their lower bodies inseparably and intimately interlocked with one another. To maintain his balance, Shen Qingqiu had to stretch out his sore arms and wrap them around Luo Bing'er's neck. The slightest movement by Luo Bing'er was inextricably connected to the actions in his lower body, compelling several grunts to escape from Shen Qingqiu's nose. In high spirits, Luo Bing'er supported Shen Qingqiu's ample buttocks to raise it up a little before he set Shen Qingqiu back down as he directed him towards that particular spot. This time, Shen Qingqiu finally could not hold back anymore and let loose a moan. His legs uncontrollably trembled as they tightened around Luo Bing'er, and his entrance involuntarily contracted. After getting the hang of it, Luo Bing'er began to move in for the attack. There was no rhyme or rhythm to it, just pure, uncontrolled thrusts, but it was exactly because of this that they were pushed to surrender all of themselves and lost themselves in the moment. Shen Qingqiu did not know if he was suffering or enjoying it. His faintly discernible moans and disorderly pants rang out intermittently with each thrust, along with the sticky sound of water and the intensive sound of car from their lower bodies. A milky white liquid oozed out from the tip of Shen Qingqiu's male organ, gradually increasing in quantity and trickling down its length. The more thrusts there were, the more difficult it was to relieve the heat and numbness in his body. Suddenly, the sound of scattered footsteps rang out from outside the bamboo dwelling. "Boy, I'm tired. Shisheng, wait for us. I can't move anymore." If Shen Qingqiu was still wallowing in lust with nothing but desire whirling in his mind earlier, he was now frightened out of his wits. It was those King Jing Peak disciples he had sent down to run laps earlier. Shen Qingqiu suddenly held on to Luo Bing's shoulders, intending to push himself up from his body. But who would expect Luo Bing to clamp down on his waist and ruthlessly press him down? This thrust was plunged in too deep, filling Shen Qingqiu to the brim. The stimulation was overwhelmingly intense. Shen Qingqiu had just opened his mouth when Luo Bing immediately blocked it with his cutting off his sounds. Shen Qingqiu could only choke back his sobs and close his eyes as his tears reflexively and continuously rolled down. Having tasted paradise, there was not a chance in hell that Luo Bing would release him. His lips tenderly lingered on Shen Qingqiu's as his lower body continued to pound into him. Outside the dwelling, Ming Fan said, Why do I feel like something is missing at the top of the bamboo abode? Is there a hole? You're right, Dashi Sheng. It seems like there really is a hole. Since when did that appear? Should we go to Anding Peak now and let them know so they can come and fix it without delay? Shen Qingqiu was afraid that they would actually come in or send someone in. He exerted force in his fingers and dug them into Luo Bing's back. His entrance contracted, making it harder for Luo Bing to thrust it in. Ning Yingying apparently stamped her foot as she lost her temper. Fix what? We ran for so long, we are all tired to death. If you want to fix it, do it tomorrow. The crowd of disciples hastily said. Alright, we'll listen to Shimei. We'll fix it tomorrow since Shimei said so. Ning Yingying added. Besides, Shizun doesn't even like letting outsiders enter or clean the side room where Luo lives. He would definitely be unhappy if we move or touch anything again without authorization. Didn't you guys learn your lesson? On hearing this, Luo Bing's eyes twinkled, and he pinned Shen Qingqiu down on the bed. All the disciples chatted as they moved off towards the Ding Hall. Luo Bing finally stopped kissing Shen Qingqiu's lips and moved his head to Shen Qingqiu's chest to nibble at his nipple as his lower body continued to grind into him more vigorously. Even without looking, Shen Qingqiu could feel that the delicate flesh on his inner wall had been scraped raw. One moment there was a cooling sensation, and the next moment it would burn. After being penetrated for so long, his insides had already become accustomed to the size of Luo Bing's manhood and cooperated with his every ins and outs. Luo Bing muttered, Shizun. Shen Qingqiu could not help saying, Don't call me. Shen Qingqiu's shame shot through the ceiling when Luo Bing solemnly addressed him with all the respect due to a disciple's master at this very moment in time. He could not shoulder this shame, no matter how thick-skinned he was. But Luo Bing suddenly whispered in his ear, Shizun, I couldn't find you over there. His voice was trembling. Shen Qingqiu's mind cleared up a little. Luo Bing said, me over there was surrounded by many people, but you weren't among them. Shizun, I searched for a long time, but I never found you. Did I become like that because you weren't there? He continued. I don't want to turn out that way. Shen Qingqiu took a deep breath, held his head in front of his chest, and patted him as he said, It's okay, you won't become like him. Shizun will never leave you again. Shen Qingqiu knew that the demonic tribe could hold out for a very long time. Shen Qingqiu was also aware that the protagonist had a high level of endurance. But Shen Qingqiu was obviously not well prepared for exactly how much stamina character with the demon plus protagonist attributes had. When Luo Bing finally ejaculated, Shen Qingqiu's mind was already in a muddle. He was only jolted awake when a scalding hot liquid poured into him. By this time, he no longer wanted to think about the question of whether they should use protection or if Luo Bing'er should come inside of him. He only wanted to sleep. The inner wall of his insides was swollen. Even a slow nudge against it would make it burn with pain. Luo Bing'er pulled out reluctantly and tried his best to help Shen Qingqiu relieve his desire in front. After 2 rounds, Shen Qingqiu still had the same words to say. He only wanted to sleep. Luo Bing'er started to say, "Chazun." Shen Qingqiu knew what he was going to ask and replied without mercy, "It sucks." His criticism did not depress Luo Bing'er this time. Instead, Luo Bing'er merrily admitted with great gusto, "It sucks. It really sucks." "What? Since it sucks so bad, then this disciple would like to ask Chazun to accompany me in researching this further." End chapter.